Size of our tires. All right, now that we've gone over.
This place is great. Hey everyone, welcome back to Wilson's Wild Ride. I today am going to make chocolate chip cookies. Today we're in the tiny little camper, and I've got my handy dandy new oven, and I'm trying to keep Wilson's spirits up. He's working at a construction site here in Louisiana, and it's during the holidays, so they're working long hours, and I want to keep these guys fed a little bit with some holiday cheer. So I decided to make my chocolate chip cookies, which, if I do say so myself, they're really good. So we're gonna start it off with the dry ingredients. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is 2 1/4 cup of flour. And again, these are my little carriers, my plastic creamers. They're great in the camper because I don't have to worry about removing them, moving them off, them falling, anything like that. And then I'm gonna do a teaspoon of baking soda, and a teaspoon of salt. Now, my secret is just a little bit, one package of the vanilla instant pudding. And I put that in there like that. I'm gonna stir these around, get that all incorporated real good. Okay, set that aside. And we're going to do, and here's the one thing that I had to have, is my mixer. We're going to put in a cup of butter. And I always use real butter. Margarine just isn't going to cut it, taste it. I mean, that's really, I can't believe people still use it, but it's okay. So we're going to put in a whole cup of butter. Now, we're going to do the sugars. And the sugars are going to be 3/4 cup each of sugar, white sugar, and brown sugar. Now, the brown sugar is going to be a little bit harder to get out of this thing, so I'm going to do it this way. Take off that lid. I'm sure that other people have easier ways of doing things, but I was trying to conserve, save money at the same time, use things that I already had during quarantine. So make sure you press down that brown sugar in there, so you get that full thing of brown sugar. I'm a super tidy cook. Okay, so we're gonna blend that till it's all softened really well. And again, for my extra counter space, I have my thing over my sink. And really have to scrape it down. I mean, unless you're using a hand mixer, you do have to kind of scrape it down on these. But it's not too bad. I mean, it's not a huge recipe. It's not a huge cookies amount, so it's really not that bad. Okay, so I always use my paddle for cookies. And I've got 2 eggs I'm going to put in it. And again, I don't know if you didn't see the sugar cookie recipe, that's fine. But if you did, you know that I like to incorporate the egg fully before you put the other egg in it. That way, it just makes for a better mix, and it's not too over rubbery. You just really got to incorporate each one. Take your time on that. And again, scrape down. I know it seems like a pain to do over and over, but it does help with the consistency of the cookie. I'm going to put that second egg in there. Okay, now I'm going to add a teaspoon of the vanilla extract. I'm only going to use vanilla extract in this one. And do yourself a favor and always use real. That imitation has so much alcohol in it that you'd be able to taste it in your cookie. One more scrape down before we add the dry ingredients. There we go. So it should be a good consistency right now. Somewhat like a little wet, like that. Now, little at a time with your paddle. If you were doing it too fast, all the flour is going to come up in your face, so you don't want that. Okay, and you're going to incorporate all of the flour a little at a time, scraping in between. Okay, as you can imagine, getting this big bowl in that tiny fridge was a challenge, but we did it. And now it's cold. It's been in there for about 30 minutes. I like to use a scoop that is about 2 tablespoons and and then that way, the reason why I want it to make sure that the dough is chilled is because otherwise it spreads. It spreads all over your pans and it makes it just too big. So I'm gonna, that one came out way too big. So I'm gonna do probably fit, because these pans are tiny. It's not like a big cookie sheet. I've got a tiny little oven, so I have a tiny little pan. So I'm probably be able to get about 9 on each cookie sheet. And I always line my cookie sheets with parchment. I don't try to grease it, and I don't do it so it won't. You don't want these to stick at all. So I put parchment on there. Now, in between doing the cookie sheets, I'm going to make sure that I put the dough back into the refrigerator and don't leave it outside to get warm. So here we have the final product. I really wasn't happy with the first batch. It turned out really flat and brown. They kind of spread and they were cooled, so I don't understand what happened other than I had the temperature on the little oven a little too high. I think that you really have to watch these ovens. You have to be very careful with them at first, because they're not easy to maneuver. They're not like an oven when you have a home and your oven's in the wall and you can just walk away secure in the knowledge that in 10 minutes that cookie's going to be perfect. These have to be watched. The temperature has to be adjusted. I probably will get a little thermostat to put in it just to be sure of what the temperature is in them. I still love my little oven, but I think that you really need to be careful with it. But I persevered, and the rest of the cookies turned out really well. I have plenty to send to the guys. And so I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any food that you'd like to see cooked or any recipes you'd like to see done in an RV, please send them to me. Leave it in the comments, and I'll try to get to them. I hope you liked our videos. Thank you for watching Wilson's Wild Ride. If you like our videos, please subscribe, leave a comment, do that notification, and don't forget to enjoy the ride.